Hi, this is Tits from Tits Toys and Shenanigans, and I'm just here to do a little short review of the Transformers Prime Deluxe class Ratchet. What can I say? He lacks paint. Actually, he's got plenty of paint, just perhaps not in the right spots. He is obviously an emergency vehicle, I guess in the shape of an ambulance of some description. Most horribly, he's completely missing the heartbeat monitor line that his previous versions have had, since they don't want to use a red cross. I was quite horrified in some promo pictures for this figure on the internet that I saw, in that his red looked somewhat like tomato sauce on it, but I'm pleased to say that on the toy the red is actually not all that tomato saucy. Paint wise, I guess it gets the job done. Got the red down here, red up here. On these bits, I assume these are his emergency lights. Bit up here. This white section here is paint as well, because of the blue windows, and this whole piece of plastic is blue on the inside, and they've just put white paint over there to keep with the white theme. The sculpting on the vehicle mode is quite nice. It's got lots of nice details on the back. On the sides, you can see the door handle and the mirrors. And they've actually got a pretty good silver paint for the grille, which I think is quite handy. These little spots here are for his weapons, which I'll get to in a minute. But what really strikes me as kind of annoying is that none of the Transformers Prime figures seem to, of the main line that is, the first editions all have them, but so far none of the regular line Transformers have had their faction insignias on them. And have a look here, and the vehicle mode there. And you'll see that he's actually got a little square that's in the shape of an Autobot symbol. I can understand why there isn't anything on there, because it would be really hard to get the paint on there properly, because that's on the seam for his legs. But the fact that, I mean, I can handle the vehicle mode not having an Autobot symbol, because he's a robot in disguise, and if he had a big Autobot symbol on the front there, then you know, he would look somewhat distinguishable from other ambulances running around the place. But there's nothing on his robot mode either, which is annoying. But yeah, you know, he rolls nicely, and it's a pretty solid vehicle. Not quite as liney, I guess. You can't see so many seams as, for example, the classics Ratchet. Underneath, he's very hollow. You can see here, got a big robot mode chest there. It is a revealer, so when you transform him, his head does pop out. What I do like, and it's not mentioned in the instructions, is that you can stash his weapons underneath here onto this little latch, and they actually have a small tabbed area, a little hole for them to go in there, and you can just pop them in there, and you just slide the blade in between his thigh and the side of the vehicle there. He does have a sort of weapon vehicle mode, where you can plug his weapons in to the I'm going to refer to them as fog lights, because that's what they're going to be on in the world of Tits, and he hasn't got any scalpel things plugged in there. So you can have them clearing up like that, or you can flip them around up like that as well. Personally, I prefer them with a lowrider effect, I guess. Looks kind of cool. Kind of reminds me of Wheeljack in his sort of mad, crazy tusk mode. You can actually even stick them in here if you so felt the need. One thing that annoys me though is they're very jelly-like. Very much remind me of gummy bears, and every time I play with them I want gummy bears. And that goes for the handle as well, so when you're kind of pushing them in, the handles kind of wobble around quite a bit. Okay, now onto transformation. We just pop down the sides, These are his shoulder pieces and his arms in there. Break him apart. The instructions say to pull this bit off, these panels here, off first, but it's definitely easier if you go along and break him up that way a little bit, because the tabs in the side here, especially on mine, seem to stick extremely well. As you may see. And so the instructions tell you to pull these parts down first to break it off, but I tried that when I first had it, and I was sitting there trying to get them out of their tabbed bits for probably a good 5 or 6 minutes. So you just move those out of the way. Oops, and these bits popped out. And then with these bits, you just flip them over here. You can begin to see what's going on. We just pop his legs down, flip out his feet and heel spurs. Slide these bits in here. Again, the instructions are a bit vague as to what to do here, and I was kind of like, is that all there is to it? But there is a little tab section in here, and you just kind of, oh, hang on, that's that one there. Just slide that in there, so this tab goes. Move them down, and pop that in there, and it kind of hooks in there. Feels a bit more sturdy that way. Gives him a better heel. So you got his legs. Okay, now looking at the arms, still got these bits out. Lift this up, pull them out just a little bit, and then move that forward, and you'll find that the shoulders will slide out as well. Okay, fold them down, hands come out, this bit will close down and seal up his arm. Oops. Now for the piece de resistance that makes the deluxe size the apparent revealers. Wait for it. Oh yeah, look at that, that's where all the gimmick is. We got Ratchet in robot mode. Quite a nice little mode. Very sturdy, no leg movement. Great light piping in his eyes. Nice paint on his face with a silver. No ear paint though. Pretty good articulation. He's actually got double jointed knees. One right here, one right here, but due to the stuff on the back there, you can only kind of get him into a squat. So, as you can see, fairly decent balance. You can, squeezing these in, you can kind of make up for his lack of ankle movement, since they're now held in place by the side panels here. His weapon mode, I do like. He can sit there and stick the knife. Stick the knife in his hand, like so, or fold it down, turn that up the other way, and it's just like in the cartoon, which I really like. He's got some fake doors on his chest, and no Autobot insignia anyway. Although looking at the cartoon, his Autobot insignia is just a tiny one on here anyway, so it's not really all that big of a deal, I guess. And that is pretty much Ratchet. Oh, actually, one thing that bugs me is, despite the fact that we have big backpack with a hole in it, and big cars with a hole in it, there's actually nowhere to stash his weapons unless they're in his hands, which I kind of find really annoying. I mean, it wouldn't have been that hard to stick a tab on these bits here, so you could just kind of like store them in there, I think. But for me, I find the best way to go is to just kind of slide them in the back here, and it's kind of where the sort of gumminess of them really works in his favour. And end up with that. Oh, does it work better the other way around? One way works fairly well. There we go. And it kind of looks like he's got a bit of an aerial there as well, which is also lacking from the cartoon. Sculpting's pretty good. He's got waist movement here. which I didn't really need to put in, but it's good that they did. And yeah, that's about it. I actually really like the robot mode. The robot mode is by far the strongest of his two modes. He's rather small as a vehicle. And he just looks a lot better in robot mode, I think. I'd really like to see, and I'm probably dreaming this, I'd really like to see a larger size class with him. I think a masterpiece would look really good. Even a really well designed Voyager would probably do wonders for this figure. But that's pretty unlikely because it's just Ratchet, despite the fact personally I love Ratchet. Yeah, any other comments? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention he's got really good arm movement. His shoulders can swing back. He's got a little swivel in there and a hinge up there and a hinge in his elbow, so he can kind of get his arms right up and about, which is pretty clever. It makes up, I think that kind of makes up for his lack of heels, and even with his heels, because his feet are angled anyway. So if you get him like that, you're gonna have a little bit of a gap just down here. So he's kind of a fairly dynamic. He's very much a more action-orientated figure than I originally thought he'd be, you know. And I gotta admit, I kind of like it. You know, we have actually seen Ratchet, Prime version of Ratchet, running around and kicking cons and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So it's pretty good to see. Yeah, definitely a recommended figure. I think he goes well with the other Prime toys. Again, probably compared to some of the other ones, it's a bit simple. Transformation, it's easy enough, I guess, but I don't know, unsatisfying, I think. For some reason, I'm not too sure why. I can't quite put my finger on it. I think it may well be because of the amount of gap that you end up with in the vehicle mode. But that's it. That is Transformers Prime Deluxe Ratchet. For more, I have some more shots of him in photographic form up on my blog at www.tetstoys.blogspot.com. Feel free to have a look. Probably put up some more comments and things as well as I play with him and get used to him and discover any possible flaws. So have a look, tetstoys.blogspot.com, and check out my other Transformers things and various other toys as well that I have there. Thanks very much for watching. Tets is done. Off for a cup of tea.